Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to IP Subnetting Introduction. This is Manny, 2xCCIE lead instructor at System.ca. So guys, I already have a first video called IP addressing introduction. Hopefully you guys have went through that video. Otherwise, please go through. And after you went through that IP addressing introduction YouTube channel, you can watch at this one. So what is subnetting? So basically subnetting means dividing a big network into smaller networks. So that's the definition of subnetting. We'll go more. And also remember, every subnet, when you divide, every subnet will have its own network ID, own broadcast ID and own valid IP. The main advantage of subnetting, it gives more control of IP network and also it is more secure. And also, how do you know if an IP address is subnetted? You must be looking at the subnet mask. You have to look at the subnet mask to see if the IP address is subnetted. If they are giving only IP address without subnet mask, it is very difficult to see if it is subnetted or not subnetted. So by definition, if the subnet mask is more than default, if the subnet mask is more than default subnet mask, we call the network as subnetted network. That means for class A IP addresses, if the subnet mask is more than 8, if for class B, if the subnet mask is more than /16, for class C network, if the subnet mask is more than /24, we call as subnetted network. In this lecture, I'm not going to talk about supernetting. That means if the subnet mask is less than 8, less than 16, less than 24 for class ABC, we are not going to focus on that one. We are going to focus on subnetting. Basically, it is like rich dad giving money to his kids, okay? Or rich dad or rich mom, okay? So let's go through some idea here. So if you look at this particular diagram, it's a demonstration only. Rich dad is having $1 million. He is giving to 4 kids. Kid number 1, 2, 3, 4, they are getting 250,000 each. But remember, while doing, there will be some minus, so brokerage fee, that fee. So it is not exactly 250,000, maybe $100 less. So again, when you do subnetting, some IPs are wasted actually, okay? So subnetting is similar to this one. If you have around 1000 IPs, okay, if you have 1000 IPs, you can give 250 IPs to each. If you want to divide it into 4, you are going to give 250 IP. If you want to divide it into 10, you are going to give 100 IP. So that's the idea. You divide the network into multiple smaller network. So now let's see how we know if the IP address is subnetted. So you know the definition what I spoke to you before. If the subnet mask is more than default. So remember, for class A, we should know this default subnet mask is /8. Basically, that means 255.0.0.0. For class B, default subnet mask is /16. It is 255.255.0.0. For class C, the default subnet mask is /24. It is 255.255.255.0. Guys, if you haven't watched my initial IP address introduction video, I strongly recommend to make sure you understand that one before you go through this particular subnetting video. Okay, so look at the IP class. So first 3 are class A. This is more than 8. This is more than 8. So answer is yes. This is subnetted yes. The answer for this one is no. Okay. And these 3 are class B. You can see. So again, you have to understand what is ABC. So you have to understand what is ABC. So A is between what and what. B is between what and what. A is in between 1 to 126. So you have to know by heart this one. 1 to 126 is A. B is nothing but 128 to 191. C is 192 to 223. So you have to know by heart ABC differences. Okay, so they are all B, but this is 16, so not subnetted. It is subnetted. This is subnetted, and these are all class C because starting with 200. So this is not subnetted because exactly /24. This is yes. This is yes. This is class A. This is more than 8. So yes, subnetted. So just see, you can fill up here. So I just wrote right away, so you can check and verify. Guys, do the same exercise multiple times for you to know. So we are going to keep on go down so you guys know how to come back. Look at this example, one of the good example. So in this one, you have a subnet called 200.100.100.0/24. It is not subnetted, but if you want to create 4 subnets, okay, if you want to create 4 subnets, what you can do, you can go to /26. So basically the idea is simple. From /24, if you want to move the subnet mask to /26, okay, so that you're borrowing 2 bits. How many bits you are borrowing? 2 bits you are borrowing. So 2 to the power of 2 network. So you can have total of how many network? 4 network. Same thing, if you want to move away from 24 to 27, what you are doing in this case, you are borrowing 3 bits. Okay, you are borrowing 3 bits. So 2 to the power of 3 is 2 times 2 times 2. You are going to have 8 subnets. So depending on how many network you want to create, you can borrow that many bits. Okay, so remember 24 is nothing but 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, now what you are doing, you are borrowing 3 more bits for in this example you are borrowing 2 more bits for subnetting. Okay, and leaving you with only, so this is you are borrowing for subnetting. That's why it is 2 to the power of 2, and there are number of PCs. This is nothing but number of PCs or number of hosts. So subnetting is a very good thing. So try to understand, guys. Okay, so basically it says there's a 0 subnet, 64 subnet, 128 subnet, 192 subnet. So one big subnet we are dividing into what? 4 different subnet. So every subnet will have a network ID, broadcast ID, valid IP. Let's come back to that one after some time. Okay, so I want you guys to understand this chart also, very important. So write down and memorize. Okay, subnet mask. So remember in the earlier chapter we spoke about subnet mask. It can be 128, 192, 224, 240, 248, 252, 254, 255. It is coming like this: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. The first number is 128, 64, then 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. This is one number. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The idea is simple. If it is 1, it is 128. When you add 2 numbers, 128, 64, it is 192. When you add 3 numbers, it becomes 224. When you add 4 numbers, it becomes 240. So I ask you to, like, if you want to become masters in subnetting, you have to know this one by heart. Okay, we'll talk why very soon. And also subnet size. Subnet size is basically, kind of remember the shortcut formula, 256 minus subnet mask. So subnet size is, for this one 128, for this one 64, this one 32. These numbers are exactly similar to whatever number you are seeing here. So these numbers are subnet sizes. Okay, so here we are borrowing 1 bit, so 2 to the power of 1. We are borrowing 2 bits, 3 bits, we are borrowing 3 bits, 4 bits. So you have to put 2 to the power 1. So if you need to create 2 subnets, you're borrowing 1 bit. If you want to create 4 subnets, you're borrowing 2 bits. Okay, so if it is 2 subnet, the first subnet is 0. Just see, the second subnet is 0 plus 128. Here subnet size is 64. So you start with 0, 64, 128, 192. If I add another 256, another 64, it becomes 256. Remember, 256 is not valid. Okay, if I add another 128, 256, it is not valid. Again, we are not taking. So if the subnet size is 32, it is 0, 32, 64. It just keeps on go like that. Okay, they are all network ID for slash whatever 224 subnet mask. If it is 248, just see the network size is 8. Again, 252, network size is 4. So 0, 4, 8, 12. It goes like that. 2. So again, you have to do the calculation actually. So this is basically 2 to the power of 1 subnet. This is 2 to the power of 2 subnets. This is 2 to the power of 3 subnets. This is 2 to the power of 4 subnets. 2 to the power of 5. 2 to the power of 6. 2 to the power of 7. The last one we can't take actually, it's not applicable. So we are going to do some exercises, try to understand these follows. Let's go. But before we go to the next section, remember there is something called broadcast ID. Broadcast ID is a network ID minus 1. The real definition is next network ID minus 1. So let's go down to the next page. Okay, we are looking at one of the example of class C subnetting. So 250.100.0. So by looking at the first number is class C. 26 is 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 2. We know 2 mean 196. So 255, 255, 255, 192. The problem area is here, last one. Okay, we want to find how many networks are supported. Okay, and again we can see class C, and we are using 2 bits for subnetting because 24 to 26 2 bits. Okay, so we are going to have around 2 to the power 2 4 networks. Okay, and subnet size is 256 minus 192, it is 64. So subnets are 0, 64, 128, 192. Now you can write down here, you can write down a chart: subnet 1, subnet 2, subnet 3, subnet 4. Subnet number 1 is 0/26, 64/26, 128/26. You keep on adding 64. Okay, this is 192/26. Finally, you had the wrong subnet, invalid subnet 256/26. Now the broadcast ID is this -1. So 256 minus 1 is 255. Here 192 minus 1 is 191. That means for this network segment, broadcast address is next network ID -1. That's why I said 192 minus 1. For this network segment, broadcast ID is 128 minus 1, so 127. For the first network segment, network ID is 64 minus 1. So always next network ID -1 is a broadcast address. So once you fill up this one, other ones are easy. So basically, if you look at here, the first valid IP is this +1 and last valid IP is this -1. So that means 250.100.12. So this is the valid IP. You cannot use this one because that's a broadcast IP. For the second subnet, here 64, that means the first valid IP is 65. This is 127, so last valid IP is 126. So +1 and -1. Same thing here, 129 and 190. So network ID +1, broadcast ID -1. Same thing here. This one 193 to 254. Remember, so you cannot use this as IP. When you're giving IP to the PC, network ID you cannot give. Broadcast ID you cannot give. Okay, only you can give is valid IP. Remember, how do you know what's the network ID, what's the broadcast ID? Because of the subnet mask. So subnet mask defines whether the network is subnetted. If it is subnetted, you should be able to find the answer quickly. Okay, we'll look into 3 examples of easy method of subnetting. So if you want to know more about this one, so I'm going to show you binary bit now. Okay, subnet number 1. Let's look at these two, 0/26. Okay, so remember /24 is default subnet mask. Now we are taking, so we know this one, no, 128, 64, 32, 16, 8421. Now we are borrowing 2 bit for subnetting. So subnets are 00, 01, 10, 11. Okay, if it is 00, subnet is 0. Okay, so everything is 0. So subnet ID is 0. Broadcast ID is you put all ones here. So that means if you add 32, 16, 8421, it becomes 63. The first valid IP is 1 here, and last valid IP is you put like this. Okay, so that means first valid IP is 1. The last valid IP, when you count all of this one, is 62. You can see the same number we got from this chart also. One here, 100.0, 100.63, this one. So I'm showing you how we get in a binary way. If subnet 2, here 01, okay, apart from that everything is same. Okay, so network ID is 64, broadcast ID is 127, first valid IP is 65, here 64 plus 1. Okay, and here if you add 60, all these one, the answer is 127. So you don't normally do hard way. This is hard way, but try to it make you understand how things are done. Normally you do like easy way, shortcut way. So in the class I normally show them easy way, but I'm going to show you 2 examples, 3 examples here. So this is subnet 3 and subnet 4. Just see 10 is subnet 3, 11 is subnet 4. So 10 is 128 because 128, 11 if you add these two, answer is 192. Okay, so here 128, 191, first valid IP. So these are the valid IP. Whatever you are seeing here, that's the valid IP. You can use anything from 129 all the way to 190. Subnet 4, same example guys. I'm not going to go through. You can see the sheet here. Okay, so try to write down both the methods and try to read. Now I'm going to show you 3 examples of easy subnetting. What I will do, I will hide the answer, then I will try to get you the solution. So that way you know how to do easy way. So I'm going to wipe out everything guys. Okay, so then we'll unhide and we'll check the answer. I will leave this one only. Okay, so just to, so we'll use different colors when I unhide. Okay, so that way it's easy. So if somebody give you an IP address like that, okay, 200.190./27, you should be able to figure out all the questions actually. Okay, so this one also will hide. Okay, so I'll leave that one. I'll hide the answers here. So there are 3 examples I'm going to show you. Yeah, when you look at the video, you might say, oh, what I'm doing, but the reason I want you to explain very nicely, that's the reason I'm doing. Okay, so let's look at the first one. Okay, it's a class C. By looking at the IP, I know it's a class C. Okay, I know it's a class C, but look at this one. So sub 27 is nothing but 24 plus 3. 3 is 224. So 27 is 8 plus, so 27 is 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 3. 3 is 224. So 255, 255, 255, 224. The problem is the last number because it is not 255 or 0. Now my magic starts. My subnet size is 256 minus 224. The answer is 32. Okay. So my subnet is starting with 0, 32, it keeps on go. But I want to know this 90 is part of what subnet? So what I will do, 90 divided by 32. 32 times 2 is 64. That is my network ID. Then when I add another 32, 96 become my next network ID. And the 95 become broadcast ID. You remember I told you broadcast ID is next network ID minus 1. The valid IPs are 65 all the way to 94. Basically 64 plus 1 and 95 minus 1. Okay. Then one more thing, you may have to find number of network and number of hosts per network. Okay. So remember guys, this is class C. Okay. So I'm going to ignore the first 3, class C. How many ones I have? I have 3 ones. How many zeros I have? I have 5 0. So number of network is 2 to the power of 3. Number of PCs 2 to the power of 5 minus 2. I'm using some kind of a method. So if let's look at the answer, if the answers make sense. Yeah, so 64 is a network ID, 96 is a network ID, 95 is a broadcast ID, 65 to 94 is a valid IP, number of network is 2 to the power of 3, number of hosts per network is nothing but 2 to the power of 5 minus 2. So by looking at this one, you know exactly what's going on actually. So we'll do the next example also. Okay. So I'm going to wipe. Yeah. So let's do the next example too. I'm going to both the example together. Next one. So let's go down. So let's do example number 2 and example number 3. Okay. So what I will do, I'm not going to hide everything, but I will hide the answers only here. So if you look at this one, B, if you can do this one, that means you are good at subnetting. Again, you have to do lots of examples. So it come with the experience. So very important is you study with the experience. You have to do again and again multiple times to make sure you are good. But again, this is kind of a starting point for you guys if you are new to subnetting. And try this one couple of times, these 3 easy example, then you'll be getting the feel of this one. Okay. Okay, so let's do this one. So remember, both are class B. Why I'm saying class B is 150. This also 150 is class B. In this example, class B, but subnet mask is more than 16, less than 24. So I'm subnetting class B like class B. Here, look at the subnet mask /29. That means I'm subnetting class B like class C. Okay, so again, just understand the difference. Here the problem is on the third place. Here the problem is on the fourth place. Okay, we had to find for both separately. So here your mask is 17, that means a plus 1 plus 0. Here a plus 5 is 248. That's what we got, this 128 and we got 248. Let's focus here, guys. So your magic number is 256 minus 128. We want to find the subnet size. So subnet size is 128. I want to find this 150 is part of what subnet. So what I will do, 150 divided by 128. 128 times 1 is 128. That's your network ID. Okay, when I add another 128, it become 256. That's next network ID. We know 256 is a wrong IP, but we'll write down. So 255 become broadcast ID, and any IP from 129 to 254 become my valid IP. Number of network and number of hosts per network. Okay, let's do this calculation. Also is a class B. I'm going to ignore these two, so I have extra 1 in the subnet mask here. Sorry, I have extra 1 in the subnet mask this direction. I have, so 1 mean there are 7 0. This 0 mean 8 0. So I have 15 zeros. Okay, so I have 2 to the power of 1 network and 2 to the power of 15 minus 2 hosts per network. Let's look at the answer, if the answer is making sense. Okay, so let's erase this one, and we'll do the same way the other one too. Okay, so one network ID is 0. Ooh, network ID is not 0. Okay, so it's a small typo on that one. Network ID is 128. Okay, 128.0, that's right. Network ID is 128. Okay, next network ID is 256. The idea here, if the subnet mask is less than 24, there is a 0 in the network ID. Here 128, then 0. Here 256.0, we know it's not valid. So broadcast address is 255. We have 255. Whatever left over, you put 255. Okay, so valid IP is .1. Here .1 to .25, .1 to .254. Here valid IP is 128.1 to 255.254. Basically this plus 1. Okay, so this plus 1 is 1 and this minus 1, 254 again. So this is right answer, guys. Let's look at the other one. So network ID plus 1. Okay, so what is 150 100 128.0 plus 1? Okay, that's the first. So the answer is 150 100 128.1. That's the first valid IP. Last valid IP is broadcast ID minus 1. So broadcast ID is 150 100 255 255. If I subtract 1, this become 150 100 255.254. That means 128, 129, 130, 131 all the way to 255. Then the last number can go from 1 all the way to 255. We have lots of IPs. Okay, so let's do the last one for today. Okay, so here class B is subnetted like class C. Let's look at the subnet size. So 256 minus 248, subnet size is 8. Now I want to know the 50 is part of what subnet. So what I will do, 50 divided by 8. 8 times 6 is 48. That's the network ID. If I add another 8, 56 is my next network ID. So my broadcast ID become 55. So 55 my broadcast ID. My valid IPs are 49 to 54 become my valid IP. Thing is, guys, class A is easy. You have to only worry about the last character only. But when it comes to class B or A, you have to make sure if it is not more than 24, if it is on the third place or second place, you have to know this 0 and 255, those kind of things. Okay, so let's write down the answer for this one. So network ID is, yeah, so let's look at the answer. Before that, number of network and number of hosts per network. So in my classes, I do around 10 subnetting questions. Then I give them homework around 20 subnetting questions. So that way, like, you have to do again and again. So let's look at this one. Number of network is a class B. I'm going to ignore the first two. How many ones I have and how many zeros I have. So 255 mean 8 ones. 248 mean 5 ones. So 8 plus 5, I have 13 ones. If it is 5 ones, I have left off with 3 zeros. Okay. So number of network is 2 to the power of 13. Number of hosts per network is 2 to the power of 3. It is a bit hard, guys, because it's kind of a calculation. That's why I went through this one. Okay, so let's look at the answer. 48 is a network ID. 56 is a next network ID. 55 is a broadcast ID. I'm looking here. 49 to 54 is a valid IP. And 2 to the power of 13 networks. And 2 to the power of 3 minus 2 hosts per network. Guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this mini session. It's almost yeah, so we spent quite a bit of time on this one. Okay, so if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. I'll be adding more videos. And also, if you're in North America, Canada, US, if you want to do your CCNA class, like we do offer CCNA classes, so you can visit the website or call our number. Classes are online, live, interactive classes. Our students are from both US and Canada. Again, my name is Manny. I'm the instructor, and hopefully you guys had a good time. Good luck, and see you guys all.